So, what do we have to look forward to in the future of Trinnov right now, as far as these altitude models are concerned? Any major firmware upgrades, or besides 2.1 as a hardware upgrade? Is there anything else?
Well, yeah, that'll come when it comes, and it'll probably be next year sometime. I don't know. Um, in terms of software updates, we have a few things. We don't generally announce features before we're ready to release them. Um, there's one that I may get into trouble for mentioning, but what the heck? Um, One of our engineers, well, I should back up. I mentioned earlier that Dolby has been leaning really hard on sound engineers and sound designers to take full advantage of the tools that Dolby has developed for doing object-oriented mixes. And if you haven't seen it yet, I recommend everybody go to YouTube once they're done with your channel, Shane. But do a quick search for Ford versus Ferrari, and there's a 10 or 11 minute little mini documentary of a couple of the sound engineers, a sound designer, and I forget their titles, but two guys that worked on Ford versus Ferrari, the soundtrack thereof. And they just explain basically what each one is responsible for doing, and they kind of show you, some of their artistic decisions and why they did what they did. And if you haven't seen the movie, you should watch it. It's fabulous. But that in that little 10 or 11 minute clip, which is really helpful in understanding why people think that some movies are so much better than others. There are a few places where you can see the little object visualizer that is part of the Dolby software. And so you can see, much like, well, let me see if I still have control of your system or not. Well, maybe not. It looks like the connection's gone dead. Anyway, if you go back to the 3D view, where you declare the speakers. Oh, okay. It's just really slow.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay.
It's working.
So if you imagine a room like this where, the listener level speakers are in green and the upper speakers are in red, and in this case, the subs are brown. And now imagine that there are little yellow dots, and you can, position it different perspectives so you can kind of see more clearly what's going on. And each yellow dot is a sound object. If you watch something like Gravity, which I think was the second Atmos movie ever released, there are sound objects flying all over the place, like when they get hit with the Russian debris, and then during re-entry and during all the action-packed areas, you can see these yellow objects flying around the room. You can also see them being rendered in real time to the speakers, because as one of the yellow objects flies near a speaker, that speaker glows more brightly, right, in this kind of conceptual, visual aid view. And it's, on the other hand, if you were to watch Wonder Woman, you would see that the objects just basically are sitting where the speakers are and not really moving very much. So Christophe, one of our engineers, decided on his own, just like one weekend, it's like, because we have the original golden code from Dolby, and because we are implementers of all this, we have access to all that information. I wonder if I could reinvent that visualization tool that they use on the pro side, in the studios where they're making this stuff. And over the weekend, he cobbled something together just kind of for his own amusement. And he showed it to the rest of us, and we're all like, oh my God, that is so cool. We have to have that. And, time goes by. That visualization tool will be part of what I believe is going to be the next release of the Altitude system software. It'll be in both the Altitude 16 and the 32. And if you've ever wondered what object-oriented audio is all about and how it really works, this visualization tool will teach you more than I could possibly tell you about. It also goes to show, if you were to build a bigger channel count, let's say, 27 channels instead of 15 channels or something like that, you can see how it's lighting up and taking advantage of those extra speakers as the objects move around the room. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's really changed anything, but it's a heck of an education.